Hey crafters, it's Trish Gillum here with another video in my series on what to bring to a crop or when you're gathering for social crafting with friends and making new friends. So if you watch some of my other videos, you might notice that I break apart my, typically what I take are cards with me and I break them apart into different parts. And so sometimes it looks a little boring. For example, if I'm just sitting there making card bases, I get a lot of people that are like, what are you making? And you know, part of the fun of social paper crafting is walking around and looking at what other people are making. And so I bring what I call my show off box. It's really small. It holds a variety of cards though, and I can easily pass it around just like this, and people enjoy looking at it. And then it allows me to show people what I make with once I've completed projects, and still be able to share in that fun part of showing off things that I've made, even though I'm really just focused on a small part. So I'll show you what all's in it. I have a stack of cards. I do have a few other things that have recently been added to it because they just kind of fit here on the side. I pretty much always make A2s, so they fit over there. I went to a crop recently, Whimsy Days Leap into Spring event, and Tracy Ng from Whimsy Days gave us these super cute little clip and name tag. And they were to clip your name onto like a bucket. And I was like, as I was packing my things up, they fit kind of perfectly in here. And I was like, you know what, that would be a great way just to keep that on with me. Again, it's kind of the show off where, you know, show my name. And I've almost always carried this big clip with me. And this guy works pretty well too. You can put your name, you can see it in there. And he can just hang out like that on your table. So if people are wondering what your name is, maybe face it towards them. And it's, you know, just a easy way to make sure you always have a name tag with you. Takes very little space, and I'm not using that space in here anyways. And then I think this pretty butterfly is fun too if you happen to have a bucket or something to clip it onto. So I just saved those and I tucked them in here, and they're gonna go along with me. But that might be a fun thing to add to your box as well. A lot of times crop hosts will give you some sort of name tag, but not always. And sometimes it's nice to have something so that people know what's your spot. This could also be used, sometimes I'll use it to show off a specific card. So he can sit hanging out like that. And I like to add little things to my table for fun, for decor, sometimes too to make it easier to find your table if you're at a big crop and people are like, hey Trish, where are you? And you know, so maybe I put something silly on my table that makes it more obvious from a distance. That might be a little small, but there are lots of things you could do. So this is my Christmas card I sent last year. This is very typical of my style. I like to add something that adds dimension, but still keep it pretty flat because I mail stuff. So this doesn't have any foam or anything popping up, but it does have that embossing and then other layers that add some dimension. And of course the Copic coloring, and I like to play with adding some pattern paper. This is another fun one. Again, very typical of my style. It has some pattern paper and some colored images, and this was kind of a fun little extra piece of another kit that I colored. But again, super flat, but I don't think it looks bad. Hopefully you don't either. This is one I made in a swap I was in, and one of the challenges I had for the swap was that I had to make a dozen that were identical, and I don't always have that much paper, at least I didn't think I did. So I actually made this pattern paper using stamps, and then of course this oval die, and then the two little colored narwhals, which I just adore narwhals. This one as well was for a swap, and so I kind of made its pattern paper on the back just using tone on tone, and I colored this little snail and put him in the jar with the caught a bug. It was supposed to be get well themed. These stickers were all part of a kit that I was using up the scraps from, and I colored this little guy, and that same scrap of pattern paper that you saw over here with my bears. And actually, so it's funny, all three of these were using scraps from some of the same stuff. And so this one has that glitter paper that I had some scraps left over of that I had used on here. And then it has the same purple paper as this and this guy. So that was just a fun day of using up my scraps. And I made this. And then of course my typical colored in Copic. Another one I made for a a swap. This was for, the theme was Think Pink. It was supposed to be cancer related, breast cancer. And I just was like, you know, I don't need a dozen breast cancer cards. I hope I never do. And so I wanted something that fit in that theme, but could be used in other things. So You're Fiercely Awesome, and of course the pink and the tigers. This one I made years ago, and I have still kind of, I use it almost as a pattern. I remind myself because it's so simple and I just love it. I have this ghost stamp, and then that's a stamp, and then this is a punch, and you can change up the papers, but it's really simple, and it's kind of one of my favorite Halloween cards to do. Again, one I made years ago, probably like 10 years ago, but being from Arizona, you gotta love the cactus with the lights on it. It's just kind of a fun card. Another one I made a long time ago, I played the drums throughout high school and junior high, and I still have drums, and so I kind of enjoy it. This little drum stamp, by the way, was the very first stamp I ever bought in a store. I do have a little bunny stamp that I got from one of the, I don't think it was, I think it was like Dots or something like that. They're not in existence, but it's like close to my heart, or Stampin' Up. This little drum I got in a store, I think in Amarillo, Texas, when my sister lived there. And he's just kind of fun. I like to use him on Christmas type stuff. A little Christmas card I've made. Sometimes I go back and make this again because I really like it. That sentiment and the stamp are both close to my heart, but they're not the same set. I just think they go cute together. This was part of that swap that I told you about that I did. This one, the theme was watercolor. So I used watercolor, and then I had heat embossed some bubbles back here and whales. And then this one was also for that swap, and the theme was hugs. And I just really enjoyed coloring those foxes pretty neutral. And then these two I keep in this, even though I did not design these. And typically I will tell, you know, I make a point to point that out because all the other cards in my kit or in my show off box I actually designed. But these two, I took a class with Casey at the Paper Collage, and she is just so incredibly talented. And I loved this class she taught. And this one's a shaker, but I didn't totally follow the instructions, so it doesn't shake as well as it should. It should have another layer of film. But sometimes people ask things like, what's a shaker card? And then it's nice that I have this in here to show off. And I just think they're fun, and so I still include them in my show off box, even though I didn't design them. I did make them though. I assembled them. But as I said, Casey designed them, and she's so talented. And then I do have just this one more card in here that I made a good 8 or so years ago. A bunch of these I had when I got back into crafting a couple years ago. I still had them, and I just really liked them. And so this one was when I lived in Flagstaff. It reminded me of fall in Flagstaff with, you know, there's a lot of this yellow because of the trees up there. And my thing that I do is when I make cards, sometimes I'll make a card specifically for a person. A lot of times I just kind of make cards in a theme, and that's what people get. It's not necessarily specifically for a person. But I do pull cards out of these and send them, but there are a few in here that I just really like and I don't want to send. Or there's, you know, some like these where I made a bunch of these for the swap and I had a bunch extra, so I've sent some, but I like to hold on to it. And then this ghost, oh my goodness, I've sent tons of these, but I still just, it's kind of a reminder of it's one of my favorite Halloween. It's so simple, you don't have to color it all, you know. And I love coloring, but sometimes it takes a lot of effort. So some of these others though, you know, as I have need for it, I might pull one out of this box and swap them up. But yeah, there's my show off box. So just another kind of fun idea for you. I hope you enjoyed looking at my cards, and I hope that you find these helpful as tips for things, what you might want to include when you're packing for a crop. I hope to see you at a crop soon. If you have tips for other ideas that you want to, that you like to have at a crop, please feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear what you pack for your crop, as well as this is part of a series. So please check out the rest of the series. There, I have a bunch of different videos on what you could take to a crop. I hope that you will subscribe to my channel if you have liked this, and that you will give me a thumbs up, and have a great day. Thank you.